Okay, so this is our first time using our tripod, so we can actually watch ourselves. So it's nice. I thought this would be a nice opportunity to kind of talk about our trip to Disneyland. When did we go? We went on Friday, right?
Yes.
So we went on Friday, and we went because one of your classmates, her birthday was I think on Halloween.
2 days before.
2 days before, and we thought it would be a nice kind of play date, nice thing to do. So I wanted to talk about it just because we had a pretty amazing time.
Yes, we did.
And it's kind of interesting because a lot of times I'll talk to people who just say, "Oh, Disneyland is terrible. It's a waste of money. Whenever we go to Disneyland, all we do is just spend all this time in line in the hot sun, and we hate Disneyland." Or those are "My kids hate Disneyland." And I can understand that because we've been there when it's like that. And sometimes we hate Disneyland too when it's like that, when it's super hot and nasty.
Remember that one time when the line just to get through security
I was
all the way to
I
the
was
street?
thinking about that. There was one time when to get through security, there were so many people who backed up all the way to the street, and we gave up. We just left.
Yeah.
So a lot of people talk to us about that, and my response was always, well, if you know sort of the tricks or the hacks, so to speak, you know what to do. If you know the parks, if you use these things, then you'll have a great time. And the reason that people don't have a great time is because they don't know them. But it's one thing to say that, and it's another thing to actually kind of put into practice. And I thought that this is a good opportunity to talk about Friday because it really worked out really well. And hopefully, kind of talking about our day and describing what we did, that might help some other people, when they're trying to plan things out. So we went on a Friday. We had a choice between Thursday and Friday. And Thursday, according to this online website that monitors how busy the parks are, they said that Thursday was a ghost town. It's I think called isitpacked.com, and they do this for a lot of different theme parks, not just Disneyland. But according to isitpacked.com, this past Thursday, November 1st, is supposed to be a ghost town. So at first we were like, okay, we're gonna go on Thursday, but
the park opens at 9 or something, and it was gonna close at 10, which means that my friend would have missed out on the fireworks, Fantasmic, and she would have gotten that full experience because she hadn't been there for 4 years.
4 years, and so she turned 10, which means that last time she was there, she was 6, and you don't remember too much. And so you bring up a good point. We did the research, and so before we decided it, there's no fireworks, no shows. It closes 2 hours early. Instead of midnight, closes at 10, and it opens at 9 instead of 8. So it was a tough decision though, because if you go on a ghost town, things are just so much more efficient. But we bit the bullet and took a chance. I was a little bit nervous. We decided to go on a Friday, and a Friday is a lot more dangerous because it is a lot more crowded. But on Friday, you have the full 8 to midnight, as well as all the shows, as well as the fireworks. So we decided to go on Friday, and we woke up actually pretty early, around 6:30 in the morning, so we had time to eat breakfast and pick her up. And so we were on the road around 7:05. I checked my watch. We picked her up, got on the freeway at 7:05, and the traffic wasn't bad. There were some parts was a little bit crowded because remember, on the weekdays, you have to go with the people who are commuting to work. So it was a little bit crowded, but we actually made it through, and we actually got to Disneyland and went through security, didn't wait, pretty much walked through.
It was pretty fun.
It was good. And then we got into the park at around 8:40 a.m. So from there, we were a little bit ambitious because normally when you decide to go to Disneyland on the same day and you're not spending the night, normal conventional wisdom is you should just choose one park because there's no way you can do 2 parks. It's just too scattered. But because we wanted to make the best of it, and she hadn't been there for so long, we wanted all these rides, we decided to go for both, which is crazy. So understand why we went for both is because Disneyland has the most classic rides, right? Like Pirates, Haunted Mansion, Space Mountain. It's there. But amazingly, over the past, I would say, good 5 years, California Adventure has really put together really, really good roller coaster rides, really good thrill rides. So we decided to do that. So we went in, we walked through 8:40. First thing we did, We did Guardians.
Yes,
right?
we ran over
We
there.
ran at the Guardians.
Quick,
While we were walking to Guardians, I put a fast pass in for Radiator Racers, the Cars ride, which normally, by the way, is insane. The fast passes for that disappear within hours. It just keeps going faster, faster. And then before you know it, your fast pass is like 10 o'clock at night, which is a joke. So believe it or not, at that time, I did Radiator Racers. It was a 9:30 a.m. Activation. So we did Guardians, we came out, and then we walked over to Soaring Over the World. This is something I've noticed pretty interesting. In the past, Soaring was reasonable. I've noticed in the past maybe 6 months to 8 months, Soaring has become ridiculously popular. It's now, I think, in my opinion, the second most popular ride behind Radiator Racers. Its wait times can go to hour and a half, and its fast passes disappear almost as fast as Radiator Racers. So we did Guardians while we were waiting for Cars to activate. We actually just waited in line for Soaring. That took 20 minutes. At 9 in the morning, it took 20 minutes already. So that was,
I mean, at least it wasn't like 5 hours long.
That's true. So we did Soaring. That was fun.
Yeah.
Then we ran right to Radiator Racers.
Yes.
And then we did that. Then on the way out, we had a choice. And this is where I think we made a little bit of a mistake, but we had to make a decision.
Excuse
Go on,
me.
yeah.
Well, another side mention go back to Soaring was that another reason why it took 20 minutes, so fairly early in the morning was you noticed that the other side, like they closed it off, like something was wrong.
That's a good
over
point.
there.
That was pretty annoying. When it's not so busy, Disney, this is 100% true. They do not activate all of the like the people, all of the rides. Soaring, usually you go both ways. They only activated one wing, so that was kind of annoying. That did add to the wait time, so that's a good point. So after we did Radiator Racers, we had a choice, and there I think we made a little bit of a mistake. I wanted to do Toy Story, but you decided, I think correctly, that Toy Story wasn't all that fun a ride to do, because again, from her point of view, she's a little bit older. This is just one of those games, one of those shooting games.
The first time you do it, like you're not gonna be so good unless you're like an expert at all type of games. It's gonna be a little bit off. Like, I mean, some people may enjoy it because they like video games or like games that involve like you joining into the ride.
You know that some people love Toy Story. They love it to death. They do it again and again. Like your mom, she loves it. But I've always felt it was a little bit overrated. Maybe it's because I play so many video games. It's just like, it's just like, okay, you go ahead, you do it, and you can read up on the tricks and score higher points if you go on the internet, do some research. But we decided at that point not to do it. Although, if your goal is to do every major ride in California Adventure, that is the moment where we should have fast passed Toy Story. And the reason I say that is because Toy Story would have activated at 9:40. We finished Radiator Racers at around 9:30ish or so. And at that point, on the way to Toy Story, we passed by the Incredicoasters. And in the morning, Incredicoasters did not really need a fast pass. There was really no line. You could have just walked right on. So the better, more efficient way would have been fast pass Toy Story, walk on Incredicoasters. The minute you finish Incredicoasters, the fast pass is active for Toy Story. You don't wait. So for those of you who are kind of following what we did, that's probably what you should do. So we went on Incredicoasters. Your friend couldn't take it. She it was tough.
Well, she really wanted to go, but she just couldn't. So she decided ending up not to go.
It was okay. This is for her. It's for her birthday, and you don't want the poor kid to have a seizure, to cry. This is no stress, right? We didn't want to stress her out. But we did Incredicoasters.
Yes.
And then we bypassed Toy Story. But again, this is you could have added Toy Story without actually losing any time at all. At that point, we went on, and then we went to Silly Symphonies, I think, was the next one we did.
Yeah.
She liked it so much she did it twice, by the way.
Yes, so we both did it twice. It was on the way she saw it, she wanted to do it because it was one of the ones that she remembered.
Yeah.
From the last time she was
was
there.
6. So it was okay.
So she almost wanted to do it again after the two times.
It's pretty funny because personally speaking, I think the two scariest rides, I think in my opinion, maybe all of Disneyland and at least California Adventure. I hate Silly Symphonies because it really feels like you're gonna swing right out to your death. And I also hated the swinging Ferris wheel. And I think both of those rides are much scarier than Incredibles. Much scarier than Incredibles. But she couldn't take Incredibles. But she went on both. She went on swinging Silly Symphony. She loved it. So we did that. You did that twice.
Yes.
I only did it once. I didn't want to do it again.
No.
And then after that,
We went on Goofy's Sky.
By the way, Goofy's Sky Ride in the morning was a disaster. It was like 20 minutes, and the line did not look like it was 20 minutes. Really, really busy for some reason in the morning.
Oh, I got it. It's Sky. It's Sky. No, it's
Sky School, right? Was it
Yeah.
Sky School? Yeah, Goofy
Sky
Sky
School.
School. Yeah, Goofy Sky School. So we lucked out again because I realized, this is no good. And so I actually watched the bags and stuff. And then the two of you went on single rider and you went right off. So that was nice.
Yep.
So that's how we got around the long 20-minute wait for the Sky School, was we single ridered that. And luckily, because you're both 10 years old, you could do that. You have to be 7 years and above to do single rider. And so you're both 10, so that was good.
After we headed on over to Ariel's grotto, you held all our stuff and drinks, and then we just kind of went on. It was a nice break for her. She liked it.
Yeah, and I think, again, during that time, by the way, right after Incredicoasters, I put in a fast pass for Space Mountain over in Disneyland. So that took a while to activate. That was about an hour away. And so while that was going on, we were just trying to kill time. And to be honest, I think you probably could have basically walked right on Jellyfish and Golden Zephyr if you wanted to be a completionist and do all of those rides. That would have added no more than about, I think, 15 minutes. But we skipped those because we weren't that interested. But technically, again, if your goal is to try to get every ride, you could have at that point hopped on Golden Zephyr, hopped on Jellyfish, done Ariel. Once we did that, we walked out of the park. And we walked out of California Adventure and we headed straight to Disneyland. So at that point, we basically finished up California Adventure, the first part. But again, in my opinion, there was a few points where you could have optimized things. Going from Guardians of the Galaxy to Soaring, you could have taken time and walked on Monsters, Inc. That ride had no wait at all, so that would have taken you maybe an extra 10 minutes. You probably could have gotten away with that. And then on the way out, you could have stepped on Golden Zephyr and Jumping Jellyfish if you wanted to, again, do every single ride in California Adventure. So we went to Space Mountain. By that time, it was around 10:50. That's the activation for Space Mountain. We did Space Mountain. Then on the way after Space Mountain, while we were waiting Space Mountain, I activated Haunted Mansion. So one of the things you have to know is that in the morning, when you're doing fast passes, you can activate a fast pass every half hour if there's no waits. Later on in the day, when the wait forces you to do a fast pass later on in the evening, you have to wait 2 hours to get another fast pass. So, contrary to what many may think, to popular opinion, you can't actually get more than one fast pass at a time. A lot of people think you can't get more than one fast pass. That's not true. You can get more than one if you play it correctly. Another thing that's critical, by the way, is that we use Max Pass. So we use electronic fast pass. You have to pay $10 for a ticket to do that, but on a day like that, it was worth it. You have to do that if you're going to be efficient, in moving everything. You have to use your phone as you're walking to do it. So after Space Mountain, we were going to go to Haunted Mansion. On the way to Haunted Mansion,
We did Pirates of the Caribbean.
we did Pirates of the Caribbean. Now before that, by the way, because she never, she hadn't been to Disneyland, we also gave her a Dole Whip.
Yes.
So by the way, so these are all these little tiny things to know about. So, Disneyland is very, again, famous for having this Dole Whip soft serve. You can only get it there in that type of flavor. I've had Dole Whip at some of the other yogurt shops. They don't taste the same. It doesn't taste as good. For some reason, it doesn't taste as good. I don't know what sort of stuff Disneyland does to their Dole Whip, but like the pineapple flavor doesn't taste as good.
In Disneyland,
Right?
it's more creamy. It's very like soft.
Yeah.
It's not really even creamy. It's just kind of more very light. And like the yogurt shop that we go to is more thick.
Maybe that's the reason.
It's like yogurt. It's just like Dole Whip, except it's more thicker.
It's certainly different.
Yes.
And so we wanted to give that experience. So here's something else, again, to learn. On the Disneyland app, you can do mobile order. And so a lot of people go, that's not, how does that save any time? I'll tell you why. A lot of people want to do Dole Whip. It's one of those Disney staples. We went there was already a line, right? There was already a line right outside the hut, all the way out. We ordered the Dole Whip through our Disneyland app. We did mobile ordering. I ordered 3, and then I just said ready to pick up at the window. We walked in, they gave it to us. We waited literally a minute, right?
Because you ordered right after, and then so the time it took for us to walk from Space Mountain all the way over there, it was done.
Now, here's the tricky thing. They're not so stupid to give you that soft serve just because they see this order. They actually don't make it, by the way, until you actually go over there. I showed them the order, and the guy was like, "Oh yeah, you know, you got the order," and then he just basically gave it to you, because the way that Dole Whip works is that they make them constantly. Even if nobody orders it, they have them always being made because they just know that there's people who are gonna want it. They make it fast, and so he just gave us 3 right off the counter. So it was really nice. There was no wait. Then we went, and on the way to Haunted Mansion, we stopped by Pirates of the Caribbean. Then we did Haunted Mansion, and then at that point we activated Splash Mountain Fast Pass. We did Splash Mountain. Winnie the Pooh was closed, but when we finished Splash Mountain, it was open again. But very easily you can walk onto Winnie the Pooh. That would have cost an extra 5 minutes. So there again, you could have done a little bit more. And after Splash Mountain was done, I think it was time to eat lunch.
Yes, we headed to Riverbell Terrace to get the Fantasmic package.
Did you like the food there?
It was good. We shared mac and cheese and ribs, which was not good because I ended up with the mac and cheese and she ended up with the ribs.
Well, here goes. Normally, by the way, if you want to optimize your time at Disneyland, one of the things that you're supposed to do is you don't want to really sit down, right? Because if you sit down, think about it. You got to sit down, take the order. The way it works is you lose an hour immediately. And so if you want to maximize time, you're supposed to be eating on the go or just go to one of those easier places like a cafeteria type food.
Yes.
You just grab it. But we had to do that because we wanted her to see Fantasmic. And the best way to see Fantasmic, to get the best seats, so to speak, is to do a dinner package. Riverbell Terrace, by the way, does not give you, there's no Fantasmic package for lunch. You have to sit there, have to specifically ask, and then they have to talk to their manager. But normally they have enough extra tickets where they would just upgrade you. So understand you have to pay a little bit more for that, but it's worth it. You do get that. You do get those Fantasmic tickets. So that's why we wasted an hour to get those tickets. So we ate, we left. At that point, I activated Indiana Jones Fast Pass, right? So Indiana Jones was activated at that time. And then we went on Indy Jones. While we're doing Indy Jones, I activated Big Thunder Mountain. So there was a little bit of time between Indy Jones and Big Thunder Mountain. So during that time, you went on Tarzan's Adventure.
Tarzan's Treehouse.
Sorry, and then Jungle Cruise.
Yes.
So we did all of that. Then we headed over to Big Thunder. You did Big Thunder.
With her, yeah.
And then, see, you have to keep rolling. The minute one Fast Pass is done, you immediately look at the app. You immediately activate another Fast Pass. You activate a Fast Pass the minute you can. So it goes without saying, like you're thinking, how is he doing all of this? Well, I'm watching the phone constantly, looking at times. The minute we can activate, I activate. So after we got done with Big Thunder, I activated Who Framed Roger Rabbit in Toontown. On the way to Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
That's not the ride, Who Framed, that's the movie.
That's the movie. What's it called?
It's just called Roger Rabbit's Adventure or something like that.
Well, it's the Roger Rabbit ride in Toontown. And so on the way there, I think it activated so quickly, we didn't have time to do anything else. We just walked right to Toontown and did Roger Rabbit. And after that, on the way back, okay, so by that point, by the way, it was getting close to maybe 3 o'clock. So the park was very light before, I think, noon to 1. But after eating lunch, the park was getting busier and busier, which means that the Fast Pass windows were getting further and further along in the afternoon. And that was when we ran kind of our streak got halted because on the way to the Roger Rabbit ride, I activated Star Tours. And Star Tours didn't activate until 4:50, basically early evening. And so once we finished Roger Rabbit, we had a lot of time to kill.
So we headed over to Fantasyland, and well, one of the things that she requested, it was the few rides that she remembered and she remembered enjoying was the teacup ride. So we waited in line for that, and then after we headed to Alice in Wonderland. After Alice in Wonderland, we went to Pinocchio and then Snow White. Well, before that we did the carousel and
right.
Pinocchio,
So basically,
Snow White.
Normally earlier in the day, what we had done was Fast Pass. And we basically barely had time to even do one ride, or you're picking up rides while you're hitting all those Fast Passes. But this ran out after Roger Rabbit. There was a good, I think, an hour and a half to 2 hour window between Roger Rabbit and Star Tours. So during that time is when we took the opportunity to hit Teacups, Alice, Carousel, Pinocchio, Snow White, and Dumbo. So we did 6 of those by the time Star Tours activated. Now, we didn't do Storybook Canal, Casey's Train, Mr. Toad's Adventure and Peter Pan. Now, Peter Pan is a big problem, and I'll get to how to get around that a little bit later on. So at that point, we dropped those rides. We didn't have time to do them, and then we went to Star Tours, and then we did Star Tours. So here's where our day kind of diverges from the most efficient thing you can do. At that point, I think you wanted to do challenge trails with her.
Stop! It's the redwood thing.
The redwood. Okay, the redwood.
It's like a trail, like a kind of.
Yeah, it's a nice trail, and so you wanted to show her. And also, I needed to do a favor for my mom. She wanted me to get some clothes for her relatives, and so essentially what we did was at that point we actually backtracked all the way to California Adventure, and I would say we dropped quite a few hours. We dropped at least 2 hours with that, and also.
We also after we did the trails, we went to the little. It's known as the resting area, the animation area. Where it's dark, there's couches. Well, we rested there.
We rested there, and then you took her to some other places there.
Yeah.
So here from memory is what we did. We went to the challenge place, and then before we went to Animation Studios, we actually did the swinging Ferris wheel. We went up to do the Ferris wheel because she wanted to do the Ferris wheel at night. We did the Ferris wheel. You did Incredicoasters again, and then we went to Animation Studios to rest a little bit and cool off. And then we did Guardians again.
Because you wanted to.
And at that point, it was getting really late. It was getting almost to be 8 o'clock. And so we needed to head back to Disneyland to get seating for Fantasmic. So that's what we did because, again, it was what she wanted to do. But technically, you could have cut, we literally dropped, I think, a good 2.5 hours during that time. And you could have done it a lot more efficiently by, essentially not going there, and then after you do Star Tours, you could use that opportunity to fast pass Buzz Lightyear and then do Autopia and Finding Nemo. And even at night, those rides weren't too long, so you could have done Finding Nemo, Autopia, then done Buzz, and then picked up Astro Orbiter. I'm 100% convinced that you could have done those rides and finished all of Tomorrowland in 2 hours, okay, 2.5 hours. And you could have eaten dinner there at that time as well. We ate a very simple dinner, hot dogs and stuff, over at California Adventure. Because if you think about it, when we went to California Adventure, we just doubled up on things. We did Guardians again. We did Guardians again. We did Incredicoasters again. So we didn't have to do all of that. And that was kind of how we ended it. And then we did Fantasmic, and we got kind of lucky, right? Because as it happened, one of my friends, who's a Club 33 member, happened to be there with her family, and she was very generous. And when she heard that we were in the neighborhood, she actually reserved seats for us, so we actually got VIP seating for Fantasmic.
It was amazing. We had really good viewing of
the best view that you've ever had.
We were not so close that you can't see everything, but we're not so far away where you couldn't see anything.
It was perfect. I've never had better seats, and I've seen Fantasmic many times, so it's great. And that seating area is only for Club 33 members and VIP tour members. And so we ended that, and the only hiccup was that the fireworks show, which started right after Fantasmic, was cut short. It only went halfway through, and they had to terminate it, I think because of safety reasons or whatnot. They just stopped it. And at that point, we went home, and I drove you guys home.
Yes.
It was a long day. I mean, from the time, if you want to talk about in the park time, we started at 8:40, ended at 9:40. That's 13 hours in the park.
In the car, we were everybody was so tired. Before you bought a Coke just to power yourself through it.
I bought a Coke just to be able to keep awake. But it was a great day. But when you look back on it, I think it was about as good a day as you can imagine. The park wasn't too busy. We took advantage. But if you want to talk about ways of optimizing, remember that we didn't get there at rope drop. So we could have technically, believe it or not, gotten there even a little bit earlier. If you had gotten there a rope drop, boy, you could have done quite a bit more. 40 minutes.
Yes.
40 minutes is a lot. Understand that Disneyland, in the morning, every minute is worth, literally no exaggeration, 1 minute is worth like 3 minutes or 4 minutes. So when you talk about 1 hour from 8 to 9, That's like 3 hours later on in the day because there's so few people. So if we got there earlier, you could have been a lot more efficient and even more rides. We dropped about 2 hours when we went backwards. And we also, obviously, we went home after the fireworks, but there's some people who went from 10 to midnight. 10 p.m. to midnight, the rides are also very short lines because a lot of people are going home. So if you have the endurance and the crazy energy to try to close that park and stay from 10 to midnight, those would have been very efficient hours. And that, by the way, is one final trick. We didn't do it because we didn't have the time, but that's one final trick, is that actually when it comes to Fantasyland, understand that there are actually 2 rope drops. What is rope drop? Rope drop is actually when the park opens. That's when they drop the rope, you can run in. So essentially, everyone knows about the first rope drop, right? It's 8 in the morning. But there's a second one. What's the second one? The second one is at 9:45. Why is that a rope drop? Because they close all of Fantasyland for fireworks. I'm not sure if you knew that. All those rides have to be closed. Snow White, Pinocchio, Peter Pan, Mr. Toad's, the carousel, they're all closed. Dumbo, Storybook Canals, and Casey's Train is open. What that means is nobody can be on Peter Pan during the fireworks. So if you're willing to skip the fireworks, what you do is you get to the back way. There's a back entrance. If you walk along Frontierland, after Big Thunder, you can go back door to Fantasyland, and there's a line there. You wait in that line, and when the fireworks is done, they will drop the rope again, and you can go to Peter Pan first thing. So that's your opportunity to do Peter Pan if you miss out on Peter Pan in the morning. And that's important because I got news for you. Peter Pan is a 20-minute wait about 1 minute after the park opens. So unless you decide to make Peter Pan your very first priority, you're gonna have to bite the bullet and wait 30 minutes in line for Peter Pan, unless you do that fireworks trick. You can hit Toad and Peter Pan, which are the 2 rides at Fantasyland that kind of have the longest wait. But you can do both of those rides after the fireworks. So you know why this is sort of crazy? Is because I never thought in a million years that we would be able to do so many rides. By counting, I think we did over 26 rides in that one day in 13 hours. And we weren't actually the most efficient, which means that technically, if you make the adjustments that we just talked about here, I think if you got there at around even maybe 8:30 and you were willing to stay until midnight, you very well could do every single ride at both California Adventure and Disneyland in one day. Now, some of you guys out there who's watching this may think to yourself, oh, that's easy, of course you can do it. But I'm saying doing it with 3 people, and it was me and the 2 of you. I think 3 or 4 people, you could actually do it if you just get a little bit lucky, you go during like a Friday, and you kind of follow what we did, but make some modifications, which I thought was impossible. And so for those of you out there, that's a challenge to you, is maybe one of these days, you can try that, take a friend. It's cheating if you go by yourself because you can do single rider.
Yes, on most of the rides.
Yeah, right. So by the way, just as an aside, many years ago, before I think even Facebook had a lot of these groups, there was a guy who was on one of the Disney forums, and he decided to go on one of the days between Christmas and New Year's. You may not know this, but that's the week where Disneyland is the most busy. There's so many people, they close the park during that week. And he went by himself, and his challenge was he wanted to see if he could do every single attraction at Disneyland, the main Disneyland park, minus the meet and greets, minus the shows. He wanted to do every single ride at the busiest time of the year by himself. And you know what? He did it. He did it by 10:30 by himself. So if you're by yourself, of course, and it's possible. But if you go with a group of, say, 3 people, some friends, see if you can manage to do every single ride at California Adventure and Disneyland, and also try to catch Fantasmic. I think that would be a pretty amazing accomplishment. We came close. We didn't do all of it, but again, it was for her birthday. We did a few things that she wanted to do. We were a little bit inefficient. But that's pretty exciting because I think one of these days we might be able to go for that. So do you have any last things to add? I mean, I hope that this kind of description, proved useful. It was a description of one of the best days we ever had at Disneyland. I'm really happy that we did it for her birthday. The only thing I'm worried about is that we've ruined it. Like, she might think, this is the way Disneyland should be every single time.
I mean, oh, that's true because she back at school, she said she has so much fun. She almost wants to go back again, like,
Yeah,
for this, like every single weekend.
Yeah, we'll have to let her know. Like, normally, that's not the way it works. It was a pretty, magical actually. Even for a place known for magical days, it was a pretty magical day. So in any case, hopefully that was somewhat useful, for you guys, and maybe listening to how we plan our day, that might give you some ideas for how you plan yours. So thanks for listening, and until next time, take care.